Winnie Weasel spread out a bright red blanket under the tall oak tree. Sparky the Spunky Squirrel placed a basket filled with shiny berries beside her. Milo Mouse sniffed the warm bread eagerly. Berry Badger smiled and said it was the perfect spot for their picnic. The sun shone brightly, warming their fur as a gentle breeze rustled the oak leaves. Milo Mouse poured fresh apple juice into small cups, the sweet scent floating in the air. "This is the best afternoon ever," said Sparky the Spunky Squirrel, his eyes sparkling with joy. Suddenly, dark clouds rolled in from the west, covering the sunny sky. Berry Badger frowned as the wind grew stronger around them. Winnie Weasel asked if they should pack up and head home before the weather worsened. The cheerful afternoon was turning uncertain and tense. Before they could decide, raindrops splashed onto the blanket, soaking the edges. Sparky, the Spunky Squirrel, grabbed the basket quickly, holding it tight. Milo Mouse tucked the bread inside for safety. Lightning flashed nearby, and the air smelled sharp and wet, warning of trouble ahead. A roaring sound rose from the river nearby, loud and fierce. Berry Badger's eyes widened as water surged over the bank. "That's a flash flood!" shouted Winnie Weasel, pointing toward the rushing stream. The calm picnic spot was suddenly a place of danger. The ground became slippery with thick mud under their paws. Milo Mouse slipped, his tiny feet sliding, but Sparky the Spunky Squirrel caught him by the tail. They scrambled toward higher ground together, yet the water rushed too fast, blocking their escape route. A large log broke free from the riverbank, spinning slowly toward them. "Grab it!" said Berry Badger, splashing into the rising water. Winnie Weasel climbed onto the log first, steadying herself. She reached down to help Sparky, Milo, and Berry haul themselves up. The log spun gently at first, carrying them away from the oak tree. Milo Mouse clung tightly, his whiskers trembling with fear. Sparky the Spunky Squirrel peered ahead, spotting branches jutting dangerously from the rushing water, ready to block their path. Winnie Weasel leaned to one side, steering with her tail like a rudder. "Push left," she called, and Berry Badger shifted his weight quickly. The logs scraped past a sharp rock, the current pulling them forward faster toward unknown dangers ahead. From behind a cluster of reeds, Slyther Snake's head rose above the churning water. His eyes gleamed coldly as he glided closer. "Looks like you need a little help," he hissed, his voice smooth but filled with mischief. Sparky the Spunky Squirrel narrowed his eyes at the snake's sly grin. "We're fine," he said firmly, gripping the log tighter. Milo Mouse whispered softly to Sparky that Slyther Snake didn't sound friendly at all, and they should be ready. Slyther Snake circled the log slowly, flicking his forked tongue toward them. Winnie Weasel kept her gaze fixed on him, refusing to show fear. Berry Badger braced himself, his strong paws ready to block any sudden strike or push. The current pushed them toward a tangled cluster of branches ahead. "We have to dodge!" cried Milo Mouse, pointing urgently. Sparky the Spunky Squirrel kicked at the water with all his strength, helping push the log sideways, away from danger. Slyther Snake darted forward, trying to bump the log with his body. Winnie Weasel swung her tail sharply, turning them just in time. Berry Badger splashed hard with his paw, making waves that slowed the snake's advance. The log spun faster now, sliding between the branches with a loud scrape. Milo Mouse laughed nervously, relieved they missed the worst. Sparky the Spunky Squirrel kept his sharp eyes on the twisting river ahead, ready for the next challenge. Slyther Snake wasn't giving up, gliding alongside with scales glistening in the dim light. "You can't steer forever," he said with a sly smile. Winnie Weasel replied firmly, "We'll see about that." Her tail flicked, keeping the log moving steadily. Berry Badger spotted a narrow gap between two giant rocks up ahead. "That's our path," he shouted over the rushing water. Milo Mouse nodded quickly, gripping the log's edge as they prepared to aim for the opening. They paddled hard with paws and tails, guiding the log toward the rocky gap. Slyther Snake lunged again, but Sparky the Spunky Squirrel splashed water into his eyes. The snake hissed angrily, slowing just enough for them to gain ground. The log shot through the gap, spinning wildly in the fast current. Winnie Weasel steadied them with quick tail movements, keeping balance. Berry Badger grinned, sensing they were ahead of Slyther Snake now and gaining distance. Behind them, Slyther Snake hissed in frustration as they pulled away. Milo Mouse breathed easier, feeling the current calm slightly. Sparky the Spunky Squirrel pointed ahead and said, "Let's aim for that sandy shore." Hope sparked among them. A strong wave shoved them toward a cluster of jagged rocks. Berry Badger leaned left, shifting his weight carefully. Winnie Weasel called for everyone to paddle harder. The log scraped the edge, but kept moving forward toward safety. Slyther Snake tried to catch up, weaving through the water with determination. Yet the calmer stretch slowed him down. Milo Mouse whispered, "He's losing speed." Sparky the Spunky Squirrel grinned, seeing their lead grow with each moment. The sandy shore grew closer, glowing warmly in the afternoon light. Winnie Weasel urged them to keep paddling, her voice strong. Berry Badger's muscles ached from the effort, but he refused to stop until they reached land. A sudden whirlpool formed ahead, swirling the water into a spinning trap. Milo Mouse shouted in alarm as the log tilted. Sparky the Spunky Squirrel kicked hard against the twisting flow, fighting to break them free. Winnie Weasel directed everyone to lean right, then left in quick rhythm. Slowly, the log slipped free from the whirlpool's pull. Berry Badger roared in triumph, proud they had beaten another dangerous obstacle together. Slyther Snake turned away, disappearing silently into the tall reeds at the river's edge. Milo Mouse sighed with deep relief. Sparky the Spunky Squirrel said happily, "We did it together." Their fear began to fade. The log bumped gently against the sandy shore, ending their ride. Winnie Weasel hopped off first, pulling the others to safety with firm grips. Berry Badger helped Milo Mouse step onto the solid ground without slipping. They stood together, dripping wet but smiling at their escape. The oak tree was far behind them now, just a memory. Sparky the Spunky Squirrel laughed and said, "What a picnic," despite the wild turn of events. Winnie Weasel looked at her friends proudly and said, courage and quick thinking saved us." Milo Mouse nodded in agreement. Berry Badger added, "And teamwork made it possible." They walked home together, proud of their thrilling adventure. Morning mist curled through the forest, wrapping the trees in silver ribbons. Sparky the Spunky Squirrel tapped the glowing pendant on his chest, its light flashing in the fog. He stepped forward, tail flicking, and pointed toward a wide, shadowy chasm ahead. The air smelled damp and heavy, and the ground seemed to hum beneath their paws. "We have to cross," Sparky said, his blue eyes bright with determination. He could just make out the far side, hidden in gray mist. His heart thumped faster, not from fear, but from excitement. The chasm looked dangerous, but Sparky felt the pull of adventure. Mist swirled around his ears, whispering like distant voices. Somewhere beyond that gap, he knew their quest continued. He tightened his grip on the pendant, ready to lead his friends forward into the challenge. The fog hid many secrets, but Sparky was prepared to face whatever lay ahead. Giggles the Goofy Groundhog adjusted his teal vest until it sat perfectly. His bow tie bobbed as he leaned forward, peering into the thick fog over the chasm. The mist drifted in slow waves, hiding the drop below. A distant echo of rushing water made the air feel colder, sliding down his back like ice. He shivered, but tried to keep his smile. "Looks far," he said, grinning nervously at Sparky. Giggles had faced tunnels and burrows before, but this was different. The emptiness yawned beneath them, and the vine they had glimpsed swayed faintly in the wind. He rubbed his paws together, thinking about the swing ahead. The challenge felt huge, but the thought of making it across filled him with a strange thrill. Giggles took a deep breath, trying to match Sparky's courage. Hopper Hedgehog stepped closer, tugging his green scarf tighter against the chill. The fog was so thick it clung to his quills, weaving tiny beads of moisture. He leaned forward to see the cliff's edge. An old vine dangled from a leaning tree, its bark cracked and roots gripping the soil. The vine swayed gently, as if testing its own strength against the breeze. "This might be our only way," Hopper said, his voice steady but cautious. He imagined the swing, air rushing past his face, the roar of water below. His paws curled around the scarf ends, feeling the warmth of the fabric as he prepared himself. Hopper knew they would have to trust that vine completely. The gap between the cliffs was wide, and the mist made it seem endless. Still, he felt the pull of adventure calling. Winnie Weasel, wearing her blue striped swimsuit, stepped to the edge and squinted at the swaying vine. Her whiskers twitched as she measured the distance in her mind. The chasm seemed to stretch wider each time she looked. The ground trembled faintly beneath her paws, a reminder of the rushing water far below. "We can do it if we help each other," she said, her voice clear and sure. Winnie's muscles tensed, ready for action. She imagined gripping the vine, feeling it lift her over the abyss. The thought made her pulse race, but she kept her focus sharp. Her swimsuit clung to her sleek fur, and she felt the cool fog settling across her back. Crossing together would mean trusting in timing and in each other's strength. Winnie's eyes met Sparky's, and she gave a small nod. A hiss slipped through the mist, soft and sharp at once. Slyther Snake slid into view, his long body moving silently over the damp ground. His scales glistened like wet stones, reflecting bits of light from Sparky's pendant. His eyes darted toward the vine, studying its knots and curves. "Careful," Slyther said, his sly smile curling at the edges. His voice had a smooth, slippery tone that made the vine seem even more uncertain. The mist seemed to thicken around him, swallowing the sound of the rushing water below. He coiled loosely near the cliff's edge, tail brushing the dirt. Slyther's gaze moved from friend to friend, lingering on their tense faces. The vine swayed again, as if it felt the snake's attention. Somewhere in his smile was a hint of mischief, and the others knew they would need to watch him closely. Sparky the Spunky Squirrel stepped forward and wrapped both paws around the vine. He gave it a strong tug, testing the fibers. They creaked under his pull, but held firm. The vine felt rough against his paws, its age showing in frayed edges. Still, it was their lifeline. Sparky glanced back at his friends, tail flicking with energy. "I'll go first," he said, stepping to the edge with a confident grin. The mist swirled around his ears, and he took one last, deep breath. The chasm below seemed to whisper, daring him to leap. He flexed his legs, feeling strength build for the swing. The glowing pendant warmed against his chest, as if cheering him on. Sparky knew if he made it safely, it would give the others courage to follow. Wind pushed at Sparky's tail as he leapt from the cliff's edge. The vine swung him over the yawning gap, the world below a blur of gray mist and rushing sound. His paws tightened on the vine as it carried him forward. The air rushed past his face, cool and sharp. At the right moment, Sparky released and landed on the far side with a bounce. His claws dug into the soil, steadying himself. "Your turn," he called back, voice ringing through the fog. The vine swung back across the chasm, ready for the next brave leap. Sparky's heart pounded with excitement, and his pendant glowed brighter. He stood tall, watching the others prepare, knowing the hardest part was just beginning. Giggles the Goofy Groundhog gripped the vine tightly, feeling its rough texture under his paws. His bow tie fluttered wildly in the breeze, and his vest hugged his round body. "Here goes nothing," he said, pushing off into the swing. The air whooshed around him, and his laughter rang out across the chasm. The mist curled away from his path, revealing brief glimpses of the drop below. His heart raced as the far side drew closer. With a final stretch, Giggles landed beside Sparky, paws skidding slightly on the damp earth. He turned, eyes wide, still catching his breath. The swing had been faster than he expected, but thrilling all the same. Dust puffed around Giggles's paws as he straightened his vest. He looked at Sparky, a huge grin spreading across his face. "That was better than a roller coaster," he said, eyes sparkling. Sparky laughed, tail flicking with pride. The vine swayed in the wind, ready for the next leap. Giggles stepped aside, glancing back toward the fog-covered cliff. He could see Hopper Hedgehog tightening his scarf, getting ready. The ground felt solid beneath Giggles's feet, but his mind still buzzed from the ride. The chasm no longer seemed quite as endless. He realized that each swing would chip away at their fear, replacing it with courage and a touch of joy. Hopper Hedgehog stepped forward, feeling the vine twist slightly under his grip. Its fibers were rough and cool, damp from the mist. He took a deep breath and looked across the gap. The fog shifted, hiding the far side from view. "I'll trust my swing," he said, tightening his hold. His scarf fluttered in the breeze, trailing behind like a green banner. Hopper's quills bristled slightly with anticipation. The rushing water below seemed louder now, a constant reminder of what failure meant. He bent his knees, ready to leap, trusting that courage would carry him where sight could not. With a swift leap, Hopper soared out over the chasm. The vine stretched and swung, carrying him through the cool mist. His scarf trailed behind, fluttering like a flag in the wind. The air rushed around his ears, and he felt the thrill of flight. Hopper's paws held tight until the moment came to land. He touched down safely beside Sparky and Giggles, his claws digging into the soil. He straightened, giving a thumbs up to the others across the gap. The fog swirled between them, but his smile was clear. Hopper felt a surge of pride, knowing he had faced the unknown and won. Winnie Weasel stepped to the vine, her paws curling around it firmly. She glanced at the chasm, then at the friends already on the far side. Slyther Snake slithered closer, scales glistening faintly. "Need help holding it?" he asked, curling near the base. His body brushed the vine, making it sway. Winnie narrowed her eyes, but kept her focus steady. She knew Slyther's help might come with tricks. The mist thickened between them, muting the sound of rushing water below. Winnie's muscles tensed, ready for her leap. Winnie took a deep breath and swung high, her body arcing gracefully over the chasm. The vine carried her smoothly through the cool air, mist streaming past her whiskers. She cleared the gap in one swift, perfect arc. Her paws touched down lightly on the far side, and she spun to face the others. "Made it!" she called, tail flicking with excitement. Sparky and Hopper clapped, their faces bright with relief. Winnie stood tall, feeling the rush of victory. The chasm no longer seemed a threat. It was just a challenge they had conquered together. On the far side, Sparky clapped for Winnie, his pendant glowing warmly. "We're almost all here," he said, scanning the fog. The mist curled in strange patterns, making it hard to see across. Sparky's ears twitched as he listened for Slyther Snake's movements. The vine swayed slowly in the wind, waiting for its final passenger. The air felt lighter now, though danger still lingered in the gap between them. Sparky kept his eyes sharp, knowing the last crossing might be the trickiest of all. Slyther Snake coiled around the vine, his smooth body wrapping it in tight loops. The vine swayed unpredictably, twisting under his weight. "It's more fun this way," he said, flicking his tongue playfully. The mist seemed to swirl faster, reacting to his movement. The friends on the far side watched closely, unsure if the vine would hold steady. Slyther's coils tightened and loosened in rhythm, making the swing dance like a serpent in the wind. The chasm's roar grew louder, as if warning them of the risk. Giggles frowned, his bow tie bobbing as he stepped closer to the edge. "That's too wobbly," he said, eyes narrowing. Sparky stepped forward, gripping the vine from their side to steady it. His paws pressed firmly against the rough fibers, damp with mist. The vine's sway slowed, becoming more manageable. Hopper watched silently, ready to help if needed. The fog between them shifted, revealing Slyther Snake's focused eyes. The moment felt tense, balanced between safety and danger. Hopper cupped his paws around his mouth and shouted across the gap, "Hold tight, Slyther Snake! Don't let it snap!" His voice echoed through the mist, bouncing off unseen walls. Slyther's head tilted slightly, tongue flicking out. The vine creaked under his grip, but he seemed unfazed. The rushing water far below roared louder, reminding them of the stakes. Hopper's quills bristled as he waited for the snake to move. The air felt thick with expectation. Slyther Snake grinned and pushed off from the cliff's edge. His body twisted mid-air, moving in smooth coils as he crossed the chasm. The vine swung him in a wide arc, and he released at just the right moment. He landed lightly beside the others, chuckling at their worried faces. "You all looked so serious," he said, tail curling behind him. The mist loosened its hold on the cliffs, drifting upward. The group stood together now, safe on the far side. Fog lifted slightly, revealing a narrow path winding ahead through the forest. The trees stood tall, their leaves dripping with moisture. "We did it!" Winnie Weasel said, her voice full of relief. The chasm lay behind them, hidden in the fading mist. Sparky's pendant glowed softly, lighting the way forward. The air smelled fresher now, carrying hints of moss and wildflowers. Each step away from the edge felt lighter, filled with the promise of new adventures. Sparky brushed dust from his glowing pendant, its light brighter than before. He smiled, feeling warmth spread through his chest. "The chasm is behind us," he said, voice steady. The fog continued to lift, revealing more of the forest ahead. His tail flicked with excitement, already thinking about what lay beyond the next bend. The danger was past, but the thrill of the crossing stayed with him. Sparky led the way along the path, confident and ready. Giggles glanced back at the vine, still swaying gently in the wind. "It's still strong for anyone else who might need it," he said. The mist clung to its fibers, making them shine faintly. He imagined other travelers finding it and feeling the same mix of fear and excitement. Giggles adjusted his vest, proud of their success. The vine had carried them safely, and now it stood ready for another brave swing. Hopper Hedgehog stretched his legs, feeling tension ease after the crossing. His scarf swayed gently as he walked. "That was the bravest swing I've ever done," he said with a grin. The memory of flying through the mist played in his mind. He glanced at Sparky and Giggles, knowing they had all faced the same risk. The path ahead felt open and full of promise. Slyther Snake tilted his head, his eyes glimmering with mischief. "Maybe I made it trickier, but you all stayed calm," he said. His coils loosened as he slithered forward, keeping pace with the group. The forest floor felt cool under his scales, and the air was lighter now. He seemed almost proud of their composure during the crossing. The chasm had tested them, and they had met the challenge together. Winnie Weasel laughed softly, her whiskers twitching. "We balanced courage with teamwork," she said, patting Sparky's shoulder. The forest path curved gently, lined with damp ferns. Sunlight broke through the branches, painting golden patches on the ground. Winnie felt the relief of success mixing with the joy of shared victory. The vine's swing would remain in her memory as a moment of pure trust. Sparky's pendant shimmered as sunlight broke through the last strands of fog. The light danced across his orange fur, making it glow. "Adventure complete," he said, his voice carrying a quiet pride. The forest ahead looked calm, but Sparky knew more challenges would come. For now, he enjoyed the peace, tail curling contentedly. The chasm was behind them, and the path ahead was theirs to explore. Giggles grinned, his bow tie catching the sunlight. "And we learned swinging over trouble can be fun," he said. He chuckled, remembering the rush of air and the thrill of landing safely. The forest smelled fresh, and the sound of birds returned. Giggles felt lighter, as if the swing had lifted more than just his body. It had lifted his spirit too. Hopper Hedgehog nodded, his scarf trailing behind him as he walked. "It's even better when friends are there," he said. He glanced at each of them, remembering the tense moments before they crossed. The shared triumph made the path feel brighter. Hopper's paws moved steadily, ready for whatever came next. Friendship had turned fear into something they could face together. Slyther Snake flicked his tongue toward the chasm, now hidden in mist. "Next time, maybe I'll be less sneaky," he said. His coils moved lazily as he followed the group. The forest's shadows stretched ahead, but they no longer felt threatening. Slyther's grin softened, hinting at a promise. The others laughed, knowing his tricks were part of the adventure. Together, Sparky the Spunky Squirrel, Giggles the Goofy Groundhog, Hopper Hedgehog, Winnie Weasel, and Slyther Snake stepped forward. The fog cleared slowly, revealing a wide stretch of green forest. They walked side by side, their paws and tail tips brushing the damp ground. The memory of the vine swing stayed with them, warm and bright. They knew now that one brave swing could carry them over any abyss. Ahead lay new paths, but they faced them with courage, laughter, and trust. In the sunny forest clearing, Hopper Hedgehog spotted Slyther Snake lying under a shady tree. Slyther's scales looked dull, and his eyes half closed. "Are you feeling okay?" Hopper asked, his spines bristling with concern. The breeze carried the scent of pine and the promise of adventure. Slyther Snake let out a long sigh and said he felt too weak to slither anywhere. Chatty Chipmunk darted over, her tail twitching as she listened closely. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, making them shimmer. The forest seemed calm, yet the air felt full of quiet possibilities. Henny Porcupine waddled closer, holding a basket of bright berries. "Should we help him?" she asked softly, eyes kind. Sparky the Spunky Squirrel leapt between branches above, his eyes bright with determination. The friends gathered near, each sensing an important choice was about to be made. Hopper Hedgehog suggested they make some warm soup to cheer Slyther up. Chatty Chipmunk clapped her paws, eager to start their little quest. The others nodded in agreement. Together, they felt a surge of teamwork, ready to turn a quiet afternoon into a caring adventure. Sparky the Spunky Squirrel zipped down a tree trunk, calling that he would find fresh vegetables. Penny Porcupine offered to collect herbs from the sunny meadow. The group set off in different directions, each determined to bring back something special for Slyther's healing soup. Hopper Hedgehog trotted through tall grass, searching for carrots and potatoes. The grass brushed against his short legs as he moved. A pair of butterflies fluttered beside him like tiny scouts. His nose twitched at the rich, earthy smell of freshly turned soil nearby. Chatty Chipmunk scurried to the brook to fetch clear, cool water. She hummed a cheerful tune as she worked. Carefully, she dipped a small wooden cup into the stream. The water sparkled like crystal in the warm sunlight, making her smile with satisfaction. Penny Porcupine found fragrant mint and thyme growing near a mossy rock. She bent carefully, placing each sprig into her basket. A gentle breeze ruffled her quills as she worked. Nearby, a bird sang a sweet tune that made her hum along happily. Sparky the Spunky Squirrel darted through the orchard, snatching ripe tomatoes and sweet peas. He balanced them skillfully in his small paws. Racing back toward the clearing, he laughed out loud. His playful voice echoed through the trees, carrying the joy of his swift success. Back under the shady tree, the friends reunited with their gathered treasures. Hopper Hedgehog began chopping vegetables on a flat stone. Chatty Chipmunk stirred the pot over a small campfire. The scent of fresh ingredients filled the air, bringing warmth to the quiet clearing. Penny Porcupine added the herbs, releasing a delicious aroma that drifted through the forest. Sparky the Spunky Squirrel tasted the broth, nodding with approval. The soup bubbled merrily over the fire, each bubble a promise of comfort. The friends worked together with steady, happy focus. Slyther Snake watched from his resting spot, his eyes following every movement. "You're all working so hard," he said, sounding truly surprised. The fire crackled warmly beside them. The sight of his friends bustling about seemed to stir something deep in his quiet heart. Hopper Hedgehog handed Slyther a cup of steaming soup, the scent curling into the cool air. "Here, this will help," Hopper said kindly. Slyther hesitated, then accepted the cup. The warmth seeped into his coils before he even took the first sip. The rich flavor made Slyther's eyes widen in delight. "It's wonderful," he admitted honestly. Chatty Chipmunk grinned, her tail flicking in excitement. The group leaned closer, happy to see him smile for the first time that day. Sparky the Spunky Squirrel began telling a funny story about chasing a runaway acorn. Penny Porcupine chuckled, her quills rustling gently as she laughed. The friends' laughter mixed with the forest sounds, filling the clearing with warmth. It felt like sunshine had settled in their hearts. Slyther Snake began to feel a little stronger after the meal. "Maybe I can join you for a short walk," he suggested with a small smile. The friends exchanged excited glances, eager to share more of the day together. They decided to explore the nearby meadow together. Hopper Hedgehog led the way, his small paws moving steadily over the soft earth. The scent of wildflowers floated through the air, making each breath feel fresh and sweet. Chatty Chipmunk pointed toward a sparkling stream ahead. Sparky the Spunky Squirrel raced toward it, leaping over fallen logs with ease. Penny Porcupine followed at her own careful pace, enjoying the sights. The group moved together, each step filled with light-hearted adventure. Slyther Snake slid along the cool grass, enjoying its gentle touch against his scales. "This feels nice," he said, his voice lighter than before. Overhead, bright birds soared across the blue sky, their shadows dancing across the meadow. Hopper Hedgehog spotted a cluster of colorful mushrooms beneath a tall oak. "Let's make this a picnic spot," he suggested cheerfully. Everyone agreed, setting down their baskets. The meadow seemed to welcome them with its open, sunny space. They shared the leftover soup, savoring each warm spoonful. Penny Porcupine passed around fresh berries from her basket. Chatty Chipmunk poured cool stream water into small cups. Around them, the meadow hummed with the gentle life of bees and rustling grass. Sparky the Spunky Squirrel grinned and challenged everyone to a friendly race to the oak tree. Hopper Hedgehog laughed and joined in, his short legs moving quickly. The air filled with the sound of quick steps and playful shouts. Penny Porcupine cheered from the sidelines, waving her paws in encouragement. Slyther Snake glided surprisingly fast across the grass, drawing delighted gasps. The race ended with joyful shouts as friends reached the tree together, their energy bright as the afternoon sun. They rested under the oak tree's wide, sheltering branches. "I don't feel sick anymore," Slyther Snake admitted, with a grin. Chatty Chipmunk winked knowingly, her whiskers twitching. The cool shade felt peaceful after their lively race. Hopper Hedgehog tilted his head and asked if Slyther had truly been ill. Slyther looked down, his voice quieter. "I just wanted some attention," he confessed, feeling a little embarrassed about his earlier trick. Penny Porcupine reached out and patted Slyther's tail gently. "We would have spent time with you anyway," she said kindly. Sparky the Spunky Squirrel nodded in agreement, his friendly smile showing he held no grudge. Slyther Snake's heart felt warmer than the sunlit meadow around them. "You're all wonderful friends," he said, his voice full of gratitude. The group smiled at one another, proud of the kindness they had shared. They made a promise to help one another on any adventure ahead. Hopper Hedgehog suggested a new quest for tomorrow. Chatty Chipmunk clapped her paws eagerly, already imagining the fun that awaited them all. As the sun set, the friends walked home together, their shadows stretching long. Slyther Snake whispered, "Kindness is the best treasure." Everyone agreed with happy hearts, knowing that their friendship was the greatest adventure of all. The sun filtered through tall forest trees as I, Coco Cardinal, fluttered nervously near the stage. Sparky the Spunky Squirrel waved from below, his orange hoodie bright against the leaves. "You'll be great tonight," he said warmly, but my heart still thumped hard inside my chest. Bella Beaver sat by the stream, smoothing her wide tail while humming softly. I landed beside her and whispered, "I'm scared to sing alone." She smiled kindly, water glittering behind her, and said, "We'll be cheering for you, Coco." Her words felt like a gentle pat on my wing. Milo Mouse, the gray mouse in a green vest, scampered up with a basket of berries. "A snack might help calm you," he said, placing them into my wings. The sweet smell wrapped around me, and I smiled a little, tasting one bright red berry with a tiny bite. The forest stage bustled with garlands of leaves and flowers being hung. Sparky climbed high into a tree to hang lanterns, calling down, "This place will glow for you, Coco." His cheerful voice drifted through the branches, and I felt a small warmth blooming in my chest despite my nerves. I practiced my song quietly in the meadow, working to keep my voice steady. Bella floated nearby in the stream, her ears alert. She listened with a gentle nod and said, "Your notes sound like sunshine." Her words made my feathers tingle with a shy happiness. Milo joined us, tapping a gentle rhythm on his small drum. "It's fun to play along," he said, smiling up at me. I laughed softly, enjoying the beat, though I remembered the concert would be my solo. His drumming made the meadow feel brighter and less lonely. Sparky leaned close to Bella and Milo when I turned to fetch water from the stream. They huddled together, grinning as if sharing a secret. I tilted my head, wondering what they might be planning, but decided not to ask. The air seemed to buzz with quiet excitement. I walked along the forest path, breathing in the sharp scent of pine mixed with wildflowers. The evening light made the tall trees look like golden towers. My claws curled slightly around the baton Bella had given me. "I hope I can sing well," I murmured under my breath. Bella met me near a mossy log, holding a smooth stick carved into a little baton. "Hold this for luck," she said, pressing it gently into my wing. I tucked it safely under my feathers, feeling its polished surface against me as we walked toward the glowing stage. Milo practiced tapping his small drum behind a thick bush, thinking I couldn't see him. His tail swayed with each steady beat. I watched quietly, curiosity growing inside me. The rhythm matched the pace of my song, and I wondered why he was rehearsing it here all alone. Sparky ran past carrying a bundle of song sheets, holding them high as if they were lantern decorations. His orange hoodie bounced with each step. I tilted my head, wondering why he needed so many pages, but I didn't ask. He grinned at me before darting toward the stage. Twilight settled in as the audience began to gather. Birds, squirrels, foxes, and more. The lanterns glowed softly, casting warm circles of light across the forest floor. Gentle chatter filled the air, mixing with the rustle of leaves. My heart beat faster as I saw so many friendly faces arriving. Bella nudged me toward the stage stairs, her fur brushing against my wing. "We're right here," she said warmly, her eyes steady. I took a deep breath, feeling my chest rise with new courage. The soft glow of lanterns lit the path leading up to the waiting stage. I stepped under the warm lantern light, looking out over the audience. Friendly faces smiled back, but my wings trembled. The polished baton rested under my feathers. I took a deep breath, steadying myself, and listened to the gentle hush that spread across the forest clearing. The conductor tapped his stick, and the forest grew still. I began my song, my voice small but clear in the quiet. Each note lifted into the air, touching the tops of the trees. My heart felt tight, but I kept going, focusing on the melody I loved. The first verse floated into the cool evening air, each note brightening my heart a little. The lanterns swayed gently above me, casting soft shadows. Still, I wished someone stood beside me, sharing the moment. My eyes searched the stage's edges as I reached the end of the verse. Suddenly, Sparky's voice rang out from the side of the stage. His tone was warm and lively, wrapping around my melody. "You're not alone," he sang, smiling wide. My chest loosened, and the music felt bigger. The audience leaned forward, listening to our voices blend in the glowing light. Bella's deep, steady tones joined us, flowing like a calm river into my melody. Her sound wrapped around me like a gentle hug. I felt my feathers smooth as her voice steadied mine. Together, our notes rose higher, filling the forest with warm, layered harmony. Milo's gentle drum beats tapped along, keeping our voices together in perfect rhythm. His eyes shone as he grinned at me, tail swaying to the beat. Each tap made my heart lighter. I sang more boldly, knowing my friends stood beside me on the bright, lantern-lit stage. The crowd began clapping to the rhythm, their smiles wide and bright. The sound rippled through the forest, matching Milo's drum beats. My fear melted away like morning frost under the sun. I lifted my voice higher, feeling joy bloom in every corner of my chest. We sang as one, our voices lifting into the starry night above. The forest seemed to sway gently with our song, leaves whispering in time. The lanterns glimmered like tiny moons, and I felt the music carry us forward together, strong and bright. I glanced at my friends, gratitude filling me like warm sunlight. "Thank you," I whispered between lines, my voice still strong. Sparky's eyes sparkled, Bella's smile glowed, and Milo's drumming kept our song steady. Their kindness wrapped around me, making the music even sweeter. Bella winked at me mid-song, her tail flicking in rhythm. Sparky nodded in encouragement, still singing brightly. Milo tapped a joyful beat, his vest catching the lantern light. We leaned into the chorus together, our voices weaving a blanket of sound over the listening forest. The final notes rang clear, fading gently into the warm night air. A hush held for a heartbeat before cheers erupted all around. The sound rose like a wave, washing over the stage. I stood still, smiling wide, as the joy of the moment settled in. Animals stomped their paws and wings, calling our names from the crowd. My feathers felt light as clouds drifting across the sky. The lanterns flickered above us, and the air smelled of flowers. I could hardly believe how happy and free I felt standing there. Sparky laughed, his orange hoodie glowing under the lanterns. "We couldn't let you sing alone tonight," he said warmly. His grin was wide, and I knew his plan had been waiting for this moment. The laughter around us felt like music of its own. Bella said, "Kindness sounds best when it's shared," her voice gentle but sure. She hugged me with her strong tail, holding me close. I felt the steady beat of her heart, matching the rhythm we had played together. Her words sank deep into my own. Milo added, "Teamwork makes music brighter," tapping his drum softly in agreement. His eyes were warm, and the green vest he wore caught the glow of lantern light. I nodded, feeling my own heart beat in time with his gentle rhythm. As we left the stage together, I thought, fear is small when friends stand beside you. The forest night wrapped around us like a soft blanket. Lanterns swayed above the path, and I felt at home, walking with Sparky, Bella, and Milo into the gentle dark. I snuggled into my nest, smiling as the forest whispered our happy song. With my friends beside me, I knew I'd never sing alone again. Bella Beaver stood on the muddy riverbank, staring at the broken dam as water rushed past. Barry Badger adjusted his blue cap and said they'd need help fast. Sparky the Spunky Squirrel and Twitchy the Tricky Fox stepped closer, eager to join the mission. The sun glimmered on the swirling water while Bella explained how the spring floods had struck again. Barry tapped the wooden beams, testing their strength. "We'll rebuild it stronger," Sparky promised, his tail flicking with determination as he studied the broken frame. Twitchy scanned the banks for fallen branches, his eyes sharp and clever. "We'll need to work quickly before the rain returns," he warned. Bella nodded, her heart pounding at the challenge ahead and the thought of saving their riverside home. Barry Badger rolled a heavy log toward the river, muscles straining under its weight. Sparky darted between piles of sticks, gathering the driest ones he could find. Twitchy balanced along the slippery edge, scouting for danger while Bella kept watch from the shore. The friends formed a line, passing sticks and logs from one to another. Bella pressed each piece into place, her teeth gnawing them snug. "It's looking better already," Barry encouraged over the roar of rushing water, his voice steady despite the noise. A sudden splash startled Sparky, who spotted a wave breaking against the half-built wall. Twitchy leapt to steady the beam before it floated away. "Hold it!" Bella called, gripping the beam tight as water surged around her legs. The water pushed hard, but they braced together and kept the dam upright. Barry's boots sank deep into the mud as he anchored the base. Sparky's glowing pendant shimmered faintly, lifting their spirits in the midst of the struggle. By midday, the dam stood taller, casting a shadow over the calmer pool. Bella wiped her brow, smiling at their progress. "Let's test it with more water," Twitchy suggested thoughtfully, his eyes scanning the sturdy new walls with care. They opened a side channel, letting a rush spill toward the dam. Barry watched the beams flex, testing their limits against the flow. Sparky whispered, "It's holding, for now," his voice carrying both hope and caution. A crack echoed as one log split under pressure. Bella lunged to replace it, splashing into the cold river without hesitation. Twitchy tossed her a sturdy branch, quick as lightning, ensuring she had the right piece to fill the gap. Working in rhythm, they swapped out weak pieces for stronger ones. Barry guided each placement carefully, his overalls streaked with mud from the effort. Sparky dashed to fetch more supplies from the forest edge, returning with armfuls of sticks. Rain clouds rolled in, darkening the sky above the river. Bella urged them to hurry before the storm began. Twitchy's ears twitched at the distant rumble of thunder, warning them that time was running short. Fat raindrops fell as they tightened the dam's frame. Barry's cap dripped steadily, but he kept hammering the beams into place. Sparky laughed, calling it extra testing water, though his eyes stayed focused on the work. The rising river surged against their work, shaking the structure hard. Bella gritted her teeth and held firm, refusing to let it give way. Twitchy barked orders to adjust the supports before the water could break through. A section gave way, sending a wave over Barry's boots. Sparky darted forward with a new idea, woven vines for extra strength. Bella agreed instantly, knowing they needed every trick to keep the dam standing. They gathered vines from nearby trees, weaving them tightly through the beams. Twitchy tied knots swift and sure, his paws moving fast. Barry tested the new layer with a firm push, nodding at the added strength. The dam held against another surge, and Bella's smile returned. Sparky's pendant glowed brighter in the misty rain, casting a soft light. "We're getting better each time," Barry said proudly, his voice warming the group. Morning sunlight broke through the clouds, showing calm water upstream. Bella felt hope rising within her chest. Twitchy suggested reinforcing the sides before the next flood season could threaten their hard work again. They searched the forest for the thickest logs they could find. Barry dragged them back, leaving deep tracks in the wet soil. Sparky balanced two smaller logs across his shoulders, moving quickly toward the riverbank. Bella arranged the new logs with care, locking them firmly into the frame. Twitchy adjusted the angles to guide the water's flow smoothly. Barry hammered pegs into place, each strike echoing across the valley. A gust of wind rippled the river's surface as they tested the final structure. Sparky leaned over, listening for creaks or groans in the wood. Bella nodded at the steady, even sound of flowing water. That night, they camped beside the dam, firelight dancing on their faces. Barry shared stories of past floods and daring fixes. Twitchy listened quietly, already planning the next improvement in his mind. The next morning, a sudden downpour tested their latest design. Bella stood ready with spare branches to patch any gaps. Sparky dashed along the dam's edge, plugging leaks before they could grow worse. Barry braced against the strongest current, his muscles tense and steady. Twitchy barked quick instructions to redistribute weight across the supports. The dam shuddered under the strain, but stayed firm against the rushing water. Cheers erupted as the rain eased and the water calmed at last. Bella clapped Barry's shoulder in thanks for his strength. Sparky spun in a happy circle, tail high with triumph. Ace spent the day adding decorative touches, smooth stones and leafy panels along the sides. Twitchy said it would help the dam blend with the forest. Barry agreed it looked more welcoming to passing animals. A curious deer wandered by to drink from the quiet pool. Bella smiled, proud to see the animals enjoy their work. Sparky offered the deer a nut, which it accepted calmly. The friends sat together, watching the river flow peacefully under the fading light. Barry's cap shaded his eyes from the setting sun. Twitchy stretched, satisfied with the day's accomplishments. Bella thought about all the times the dam had broken before. Each time taught us something new, she said softly. Sparky nodded, his tail curling around his paws in agreement. Barry raised his hand in a mock salute. "Here's to unbreakable building," he declared with pride. Twitchy grinned, agreeing wholeheartedly with the sentiment and the journey they had shared. Under the starlit sky, the dam stood strong and silent. Bella Beaver, Barry Badger, Sparky the spunky squirrel and Twitchy the tricky fox rested, knowing their teamwork had made the water calm for good.